The history of Holy Westeros and the Imperium that was born from its ashes is a complicated one, rife with blood and war. Lust, greed, and the deeds of mighty warriors streak the pages of every tome with a rich synapse of humanity. What was known as the Last War, some 300 years after Aegon's conquest, finally ended the reign of kings and queens who could not see past their own desires and ambitions, but the houses received no change. Politics and power struggles from the nobles would always incite rebellion. The North would never be fully tamed by the South, and the machinations of Essos would always slither into Westerosi society. But the West would become the dominant power of the world. Soon wars would be fought overseas to secure both land and economic interests for the new Westerosi in the centuries to come, and the traditional houses would be replaced by sovereign nations of their own, until the invention of the atom bomb. Guns had been invented roughly 100 years prior and had been naturally innovated during that time. Guns and firearms would prove devastatingly effective against armored knights and cavalry, negating the use of which altogether, and guns would become one of the contributing factors for the near extinction of the Dothraki. An age of enlightenment and interstellar travel allowed the first colonies to venture out into the stars. This age also brought about the discovery of the warp, the immaterial miasma of humanity that allowed starships to travel faster than the speed of light. It was here that the Age of Enlightenment quickly turned into a dark age of technology, when the warp lashed back against those who used it. Colonies that were tied to Westeros were now severed due to the colossal warp storms that plunged Westeros into a wasteland ravaged by nuclear fire. It was here the God King enters the stage. God King Lionel Baratheon took up arms for the whole of Westeros and sought to unite the warring houses once more from the savage hordes of now technologically advanced Dothraki and the cybernetically altered barbarians seeking to make new kingdoms of their own. The God King led into battle some of Westeros' first genetically enhanced super warriors, his Royal Kingsguard and the elite Thunder Knights. His Thunder Knight and Kingsguard legions eliminated all who opposed him, and his idea for Imperium in the Westerosi unification wars, many of the Westerosi houses were not obliterated, but were offered to join his new empire. The three most powerful families at his side would be the Lannisters, the Baratheons, and the Tyrells. But deep in the mountains of Eyrie, he conducted a secret project that would determine the future of the galaxy. He would create a new breed of genetically engineered warriors fit to lead his Imperium of Westeros to glory, hoping to reunite the lost colonies and conquer the galaxy. These warriors, his sons, would become known as the Archons. 18 Archons he would fashion from the houses that were loyal to him, and 18 Archons would be stolen away by the vile powers that watched from within the warp. The foul intelligences that stole away the God King's own sons were known as the Others in ancient Westeros, the White Walkers. They came from the warp, known in the 41st millennium as the Pale Ones, seeking to establish an eternal winter on the galaxy. Death is their only master, and since the Night Lord's defeat at the Battle of Winterfell, they scoured the galaxy looking for stronger weapons to wield than the harsh winter. They found intelligences of their own, other spectral Night Lords willing to give them power in exchange for service. The Pale Ones were gifted metallic bodies with deadly energy weapons. Their species would be changed by their new soul-eating Night Lords for eternity. So the God King led his armies and reclaimed the Archons one by one, renaming them after the houses and noble families they were genetically forged from appropriately. His legions of now Space Marines fought the Pale Ones and brought nearly half the galaxy into compliance in the Galactic Crusade. The Imperium of Westeros was now at the height of its power, with Archons like Roran Stark, the first of his sons to be found, and the first to be declared Lord General of the Crusade, master of all Space Marine legions and his fellow Archon brothers who fought in the King's name. The houses called up their most elite commanders, known as War Masters, to serve beneath the Lord General, a rank of Space Marines still known and revered by the Imperium to this day. In time, the Pale Ones fled back into the warp and the Imperium flourished. But Roran Stark witnessed the abuses of the Imperial court towards his fellow northern houses. Harren Targaryen, his brother and Archon of House Targaryen, whispered conspiracies in his ear and helped Roran secede from the Imperium, circa M31. The Archons of the Northern Houses joined Roran and left the Imperium, sparking a vicious civil war and cleaving their beloved empire in two. The Imperium was now vulnerable against the onslaught of the Pale Ones and the vile alien species they created to do their bidding. When the Northern Houses seceded from the Imperium, House Targaryen kicked off the violence by declaring open rebellion against the king and attacked Imperial worlds brought into compliance not a year earlier with fire and valorite, a synthetic alloy of Valyrian steel accomplished millennia ago, and used it in all Imperial war gear, even Space Marine armor. For the next 10,000 years, Houses Stark and Targaryen would fight their own separate conflicts against the stumbling Imperium, Roran Stark himself fighting a duel against the God King in low orbit of Westeros with the hopes of striking Holy Westeros and ending Imperial power over the new galactic north. The God King was gravely wounded by his own son, forced to intern himself in the Imperial throne, where his beloved Webway project, repurposed from Pale One technology, barely keeps him alive. House Greyjoy too broke off from the Imperium, roaming the galaxy as they always had on Westeros millennia before, raping and pillaging any Imperial, Northern or Targaryen world they found. They now roam trillions of Kraken Space Marines strong, warbands and iron fleets sailing the solar winds looking for new targets. Should the Greyjoys ever find a leader to rally behind, then that will truly be a dark day for the galaxy. But there is hope yet. Even in the fire-breathing Targaryens to the east, the savage Starks and their vassals to the north, and the Greyjoys seemingly on all sides, the Imperium still stands strong in the three great houses. The venerable and royal Baratheons, the steadfast and cunning Lannisters, and the resilient and stalwart Tyrells. Every house in the Imperium during the Galactic Crusade gave 3 War Masters each to counsel the Lord General and the God King in matters of state and war, but now the 3 houses are all that is left of the Imperium. The War Masters of House Lannister have drawn up a plan to provide a new leader for the Imperium, one to replace the now decrepit and dying God King Lyonel. Somewhere deep beneath the sprawling ecumenopolis of Westeros, in the darkest and most secretive laboratories of the Rex Mechanicus and Rex Biologis of House Lannister, a single grave was exhumed, and the bones of a long-lost monarch were cloned in a replicate chamber with a single name carved into its holy chassis: Cersei Lannister. Can Cersei Lannister save the Imperium from certain doom? Will the White Walkers plunge the galaxy into eternal darkness? There is no way to tell, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.